this is Anne, post-vacation Anne. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips. With me, your host, and Quindy, ye excellent disembodied hands, along with Justin and John, who really get token lip service at this point, but, you know, let's be charitable. And then there's a slow-moving, come on up, yay, Kiki dog, yay, hi, good girl, hi, hello, who's my Keekers? She's like, I don't know, I miss the mountains. You do, don't you? I can tell. You're just like, we're back here. This is so boring. It's so boring. I had such a good vacation. Yeah, is it true? Is it true, Keekers? All right, good girl. Good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl. Well, you can be here, but you can't distract me, young lady. If you're going to distract me, then I need to expel you. You need to be exiled. Yeah, you were a good girl, though. Good girl. Kiki is sleepy, yeah. Kiki had a very exciting, weekend for a Kiki. Considering she's, mostly been just, in our house and taking walks in general around here, except for the Arizona trip. But we walked with Kiki. Kiki got to hike in the Sierras. There was a dog-friendly trail that wasn't too far from where we were staying. And so that was Kiki is part mountain goat. We have discovered this. There were some really steep trails where I had to grab roots to scramble up them. And she would just boink, boink, boink. David had her on he mostly was holding her, and so she was actually helping him climb. I mean, she was like, oh, this is nothing. Quadrupeds have a lot easier time climbing steep surfaces than we do. Because we've just got two legs and we're trying to push ourselves up. And their forelegs mean that their weight is more evenly distributed. Plus, when you've got paws and claws, you can dig those into the dirt. So we got to some nice here. Let me see. I've got pictures. Let's share pictures quickly here at the start of the stream. All photos. Let's find the Daddy and Kiki way down below me because they were very, very much so. I was up here because I was taking my time, and you can see how far down they are and how steep. The grade is pretty steep here. And then there's a river down there. So that was the flat part of the observation area, but all this is just like roots and a little dirt trail that's going up pretty steep. So walking stick wouldn't have helped me here. I'd actually get down on hands and knees and grab roots and go up, I think. I do need a new set of hiking shoes. Yeah, there's the river down where we were hiking. Kiki and Daddy standing on rock. And then Kiki in beautiful natural surroundings. Let's see if I have a better shot of her. Yeah, there we go. Up in the mountains. There we are. I stopped to sit on a rock while David found a place that dogs could not get. It was just this steep rock thing that no way, unless he lifted her back up, she wouldn't have got back up. So he went off and when we hung out. But that's what our hike looked like. That's in general where we were. But yeah, so that's the Keekster. And then the other cool thing that Keekster got to do, and I have a video. Hold on, let me grab it and let me get the sound off so you guys can hear how loud the water is. Kiki meeting people. That's what Lower Yosemite Falls looks like right now. Good girl. And Kiki's just like, yeah, that big scary waterfall, I don't care. Oh, I wasn't very good at following her. Yeah, she heard the thingy. But yeah, Lower Yosemite, really, really, really full, and the thunder of it was immense. Like, the phone did not capture how loud it was to stand there. But she was just like, walked right up to it, no problem. I posted a picture on my Patreon Discord of Kiki standing by the falls. But it was pretty wild. Let me see, I think I have another short. Let me get back up a little bit. Yeah, so that's what it looks like as Lower Yosemite. That's how rough the water was. Like, it's almost overflowing. People are all, and it's cold there. Like, it's warm, hot everywhere else in the park, and it's really cold by the waterfall. But yeah. So she did great. She was just like, wee! And then the other waterfall I posted was Bridal Veil, which is the dog-friendly hike. This was a very small loop up to Lower Yosemite. So usually there's an observation area, and you can get right up to the bottom of Bridal Veil, right? And I said that it was closed. Now you cannot get up right to the bottom of Bridal Veil, and maybe you can see why. It's totally just inundated. Like, everything is, like, they were trying to build out new restrooms and stuff. I'm pretty sure everything has been swept away at this point, and it's totally closed, so you can't, like, there's this nice hike that kind of goes up to the bottom here. It kind of zigzags back and forth, and there's a parking lot down lower. But yeah, we were not doing that. And even during normal seasons, when you go in the spring and there's even a little bit of melt, there could be water sheeting over the trail. So right now, you can see that it's completely buried. There's just a crap ton because they got so much snow. And then here we go. Here's your obligatory view of the valley. That's Yosemite. So, and that's from Tunnel Point. So when you come into the park, you go through a tunnel, and when you come out on the other side, right away on the left, there's a parking lot that people pull into. You've got to right away, because that's the iconic view of the valley. There's the Bridal Veil Falls. You can see it. But yeah, and there's Half Dome in the distance, and then there's El Capitan, and you really, like, it's beautiful, but you can't, like, when you're there, it's so much more, like, because you can just feel the weight of those rocks. It's just insane how huge it is and how massive. Yeah, no, it's a record year, and there was flooding in the valley. There were several trails that were closed all around Yosemite because they got so much snow, so much rain. It was snow in the mountains, and it all just went crazy. There's walking up to Lower Yosemite Falls, really, really upper and lower. So the upper is up there. But yeah, so there's some good shots. Let's see here. See if I've got anything else. Trying to see. There were some deer. And this deer here, with the one that's looking over his shoulder, that you can't see very well because I had to cut. This deer is watching us walk by with Kiki. This deer is, like, staring at Kiki going, "Hey, is that wolf going to come over here?" It was so funny. That was when we were walking back from the falls. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much. And then our hike was, like, very pretty. This was the easy part of the hike before we got to the steep part. But it's gorgeous. I mean, that's all in the Sierra National Forest. So yeah, we were just, like, roaming around being cool. So yep, our vacation was great. And I got some really nice Kiki pictures. I'm hoping some of these Kiki pictures will be good. We do a calendar, a Shiloh Shepherd calendar. And there, then you get my happy sunset picture of our last night. Doot. So yeah, there's just, everything was so full. The river at the bottom of the valley was flooding over. You can see where trees were just, like, sticking up out of it as the water rushed by. And there was all these warnings. No, don't get in the river, because it was super strong, even when it didn't look like. Yeah, Kiki had a blast, I think. She really enjoyed having all this stuff to do. She's a more active dog than we are people. David used to be very, very outdoorsy, and he's not as outdoorsy now. But he still really enjoys it. He was super thrilled. He was just like, she's going to be a great pack dog. She's going to be a great trail dog. So he's excited that Kiki is so good on the trails. Like, we did just great. She was great. She was always game for it. Like, she was game for things that we were like, no, girl, don't go there. Yeah, if Kiki would have rushed them, I'm sure they would have been off. But they're used to people. Right, Splat? They see them all the time. Tons of them, especially during the summer. But we always see deer when we go. We saw deer in the winter as well. But yeah, it was cool. So let's do some grass on this. I gotta admit, guys, that after the initial, like, excitement over the spell effect, I am, like, not thrilled with this wizard. I'll like work on him, but I'm really, like, I need to figure out what I'm doing with him, because I'm just, like, kind of, like, bored already.
But we'll do it. Well, maybe we'll do his skin and his beard today. Do you guys want a black, a gray, or a white beard on him? Let's talk about that. No, because skiing is not a dog trip. Yeah. Skiing is not a dog trip, Turgeon. Yeah, when David goes to ski, he goes to ski with a capital S, and there's no time for dogs. He's out on the slopes like 8 hours. Gray? Okay, everybody wants gray. All right, cool. I don't think I want to give him brown. Brown suggests that he might be a nice guy, and I'm not sure if he's a nice guy. I was kind of thinking he was not a very nice guy. But anyway, we can discuss. All right, where's my basey stuff? I had basey stuff somewhere over here. Little tufts. Little bits of basey stuff and grass. Let's grab some tufts, but let's actually trim these tufts down a bit so that they can look more natural. Neon green. Black with white streaks. I have done that on a model before. I've done the black and streaks. It's a real pain. Dogfather. It doesn't work very well. Like with her, I did do the white streaks, right? So let's get in focus here. Right. So with her, it was easy because her hair was organized that way where I could do the locks of white in it. When a model doesn't have an obvious way to do it, or it's very small scale, like 28, it's really hard to do that salt and pepper effect. It doesn't work really well in something that's sculpted with a really chunky, matte, kind of wild looking hair. It's much easier in smoother hair that's not as deep cut. And it's much easier on a bigger model. A lot of people want to do it on a smaller model, but it's kind of rough, and it never looks great. It never looks great in my experience. Even a gray beard can show some of the spell color pendrake, so we could maybe do that. I was thinking about painting him like all in shadow except for the green, but then we pretty much have to drop the purple entirely and just go black and green with the figure. Because if you only have a green light, like the only things that, like you're really not going to get a lot of color. I'm not doing any blue or yellow with him. So like it's going to totally gray out everything else. Green light is just not great. It's like if it's your main light source, it's just going to turn everything green or gray. That's pretty much what it does. No, it's not the most interesting for that reason, Big Chimpo. Because if you think about the light color and how it's going to affect things, it's gonna light up a yellow and make it a light green, and it's gonna light up a blue and make it a turquoise, and it's gonna light up a normal green and make it maybe a brighter and lighter green. And white and gray will reflect it. Black, can reflect it. It'll be a grayed out highlight. But whenever you go to do it's not going to like interact interestingly like a yellow light will with red and blue. And, a primary colored light, you have a little bit more, sometimes, at least the yellow, you have more interesting effects, yellow and orange. But the minute you go for like a red, blue, like red objects under blue light are black. So if you have a blue light, it's automatically going to take it really, really dark and grayed, essentially, gray-black. So really green OSL, if we had wanted to do OSL on this figure, I would have not wanted to do it green. Because I find that, as Big Chimpo says, not the most interesting. It just grays out everything. The purple would completely disappear. If this was the one light source, you're gone. You don't get the purple anymore. It'll go gray. And then everything else goes green. green and gray and black. Like that's it. So yeah, it's really, and then the skin tone also, because it'll be orange, you're not going to keep any of the red in that skin tone, essentially. It's going to go yellow-green. Probably a grayed out yellow-green. Because the red is complementary to the green, and it's going to automatically cancel it out. There is no red in this light source. So you won't see any of it. Likewise, it'll cancel out the red here. That's why this would go to gray. So that's why this is kind of problematic. Like I really wanted to show you guys how to kind of resculpt the light source, because I really feel like that was a worthy lesson, but I don't know that this guy has much else to teach. So yeah, and he's very simple. So he might get put aside until I have a better idea of what I might do. But yeah, so come here, little tufts. I could use regular static grass here and use little bits of glue, but you have to be, to get the normal static grass to really cling to edges and stuff, you have to be really controlled with your glue app, and often I find it doesn't necessarily look great. So I'd rather take some tufts and kind of slice them down and narrow them and make them smaller, and then go around like a little bit of this outside of the base bit. I'm also looking at my little, these little bits and mosses and stuff like that. David has some seagrass. I don't know how to quite work with it yet, so that stuff can be very fine, really good for ground cover. But let me see what I've got in my little bag of nature tufts. Nature tufts, moss tufts. See if I've got anything. I just want the really small stuff though here. I don't want to do a big bush or anything. So I was interested in some of this just regular kind of ground litter. This stuff. I thought that this stuff might be kind of nice. Yeah, call it done. If you've learned what you can from it, if it's done its thing. So we'll keep some of these little micro bits here, because I just want a little bit of stuff growing from cracks and stuff. I don't want a lot. But yeah, so if I feel like I can't get much out of, actually maybe I should take this thinner bit here. This might be good. This could be okay. I think it's a little bit much, so I'm going to cut it. But yeah, you want to be real careful not to overwhelm the base. I wonder if I can use this, just this piece. Just that piece. Kind of with that swirly thing. I feel like it fits. But it kind of goes off of the base a bit. I might need to glue it down a little. It would definitely give us a little bit of ground cover that's a little bit different. Let me just kind of like look at it and decide if I want it. Because it might be too big. That's the problem with it. Maybe I'll just do really little bits. So I've got little bits down here, and I can cut off more little bits of this little ground cover bit. Sometimes less is more on basing. Sometimes you just want to grab like little bits. Oh, yeah, good luck with the results there, Twisted Oma. Hopefully it's good. So yeah. That's an interesting little bit there, kind of like a curled up leaf with dirt in it. So I'm just getting these little tiny bits that I can kind of shred or pull apart. And we'll use this little litter that you see down here to kind of pull out a base. Because this would be good on like a druid base, this piece with the plant. But I don't think it's quite right for her. But some of this dried up stuff could be perfect for her. And maybe that. All right, I see a piece I'm going to try to snip off. Okay, this one still has a plant tied to it. And I think I'm going to take the plant off. Yeah, and I've got some little twisted roots and stuff. Yeah, so there. So sometimes you just, like, especially when you've done a lot of work on a base, like we did on this one, then you want to be a little bit careful, you know, maybe not apply a ton of basing stuff all over the place. It's easy to go overboard with basing stuff. And sometimes, like, when you're trying to do it like a jungle setting or something like that, you do want to go overboard with it. But sometimes, no. So I'm going to do a real gentle glue application here. I'm going to grab... Maybe I'll just use this. Usually an extra base or something, or a piece of plastic card. In this case, I can kind of use the top of my blister pack for my static grass. I'm just going to actually make a blob of glue, and then I'm going to grab it over and apply it in very small splotches onto her base where I want it. Because sometimes even your applicator isn't fine enough. So I'm going to make that blob. You can see that blob right there. And now I'm going to grab some of it on my pokey tool. And I'm going to gently put it exactly where I want it. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of this stuff. Transfer to my, you can use a tweezers, you can use a knife. You gotta press. Sometimes organic stuff doesn't want to, you know, especially if it's like kind of absorbent like moss, it doesn't want to sit with the super glue. It doesn't want to bond right away. So you kind of have to be pressing it down until it sets in. And then this little piece, I really like this little rooty piece. It's cute. Maybe I need to pick it up with my hands. Probably need a little bit more glue down over there. So yeah, feel free to like be very. I actually have the perfect tool for this. Hemostat. There. Oh, part of my root disintegrated. That's okay. I can save that other root for another day. So we want to kind of have it trail off a little bit. Any shininess or glue that we have left over is going to need to be dealt with. So if we have a plant or something to put down in that spot to cover up that glue, consider doing so. And let's see here. A little more glue application. I think I want to put this. Also, you can place, you can and should place your basing stuff before if you're not sure where it's going to go. Okay, grab my little leaf here. So I've got to kind of look at where makes sense for this little leaf here. If I have someplace that makes sense. I don't really have one, I think. I'm looking around. The base is really small. Maybe over there. Maybe over there, but I think I need some grass or something. Yeah, we'll just leave the leaf. Leave the leaf for now. I'm going to put a little bit more. I can't just have my growth in one place. I'm going to extend it a little more where I've got this crack down there. My super glue is still wet. It's just fine with this stuff. I'll try to make it thicker at one point and then it thins out as it moves away from that point. And let's see if I've got more little stuff that I can just pick up and put down. Sometimes there's enough little glue on the end of your knife when you're pressing this stuff down that you can pick up really micro bits and put them in there to kind of build out your stuff. And I think I want a little bit more over there, so. For that one, I just dipped it in the glue a little bit to see if that would work. Get it in the right place. It wants to stick to my knife. It's being very disobedient. There we go. So essentially we're making a line of litter that the edge of that stone has picked up and caught. We can also use some of the leaves. Those, I might want those little seed pod leaves, which I think I have some of in one of my basing mixes. And I thought I had kept it around here, but maybe I put it back in the other room. Let me see. Let me see if I have some in here. I think I might have left all my little leaves in the other room. Yeah, I did. So if we want tiny leaves, I'll have to go and grab them. Ah, okay. New puppy. That's cool, dog father. Alrighty. Well, let's put some of this up on top of things, though. So you can't just have it all kind of sitting around there, or it won't look quite right. So I do want a little bit up here, I think, by her foot. And I'm going to choose a bit that's a little bit more, a little bit flatter for this, if I can. And sometimes you want both tools at once. There. I think that one can come off of there. Got little bits here and there. We just want to get a few irregular little pieces here and there. I definitely want some here. These are just little pieces of dried moss that we're playing with. Being real specific with. You want to spread them out where they look like they make sense, but also you want a little bit of irregularity. There we go. We're building that out nicely. And then I'll actually put a little bit up here in this little sunken stone that I've got sculpted, because I've got definitely an overhanging stone here. And notice my super glue stays wet on this card for the whole thing. So when you're done, make sure you do wipe that super glue off of there so you don't accidentally stick your finger to it. And even a tiny piece of this helps to kind of snazz up the base a bit, and building this up and continuing to work it outward and make it more randomized looking gives you a more natural look. We're starting to build a very natural look here. I'll definitely have to clean my pokey tool after this since I'm using it for glue application, but I think I want there. So that's looking very nice, very natural. Hey, I'm Fontana. Thanks for the resub at 44 months. Oh, we got a little bit of stuff there. Now I got to think about the back here. Maybe I want to do quite a bit of litter back around here. Don't want to kill some of my cooler stonework. I think I want just a little back here. And again, if I need a smaller piece, I'm just going to shred up some of these. I'll grab this leaf again. I kind of do want to use that leaf, but I just don't know where it goes. Come here, leaf. So I'm going to keep trying to figure it out. It's very hard to pick up. There. Feel like and just be patient. Like you're dealing with little tiny, easy to blow away little things, and it might take a while to like figure out where to situate them. I'm just trying to find a good place for this leaf bit. It might be okay there. I think it might be. I think we'll do that. So here, since this bit is bigger, and since it's a pain to get in that, I might just put a glob of glue down to kind of go over it, but let's see. Let's see if I can use my pokey tool and get it to go. There you. I'm gonna just pop down that glue. And try to scooch it back over. And And that capillary action should pull that right along the bottom of the leaf. So that's good. That's a good place. And then I need, I think, a little bit more interrupted space over here, maybe a bit back there, because we want to just make sure that we've got little bits of this all over the place so that these stones look really overgrown. So I just pick a place that I'm not too enamored of as far as my paint job goes. And I grab a little piece of this. Sometimes I'll break it up even more. And I can grab some of these little tiny bits and put them up there too. Kind of scooch them into the glue. Now we're getting more natural looking. And I need a little bit over here underneath her cloth. Yeah, that one did not want to sit. Sit, stay. There. There. Now we do have some little shiny spots of glue. We will have to touch those up, but this is looking really good right now. So, and I'm going to want to paint this anyway, or at least apply a little bit of paint. Yeah, we just want lots of dead kind of overgrown stone kind of litter-like look. I like that. That's good. And I didn't use any static grass. Yay! Static grass, it can be a really nice addition, but it looks much better if you can disguise it by adding a lot of other stuff to it. Here, I think it would stick out just a lot, and I like the suggestion that this is more like micro kind of plant life, dead plant life and leaf litter. That's more the look I wanted, and so I'm pretty happy with this without adding any static grass. So let me put my other mossy bits away, and we can give this a second to dry, and then we can paint a little bit on it. Because I like to always paint it, because natural litter and basing materials in general tend to look a little artificial. Either they've got a little shine on them if they're static grass, or they... they're a totally different kind of scale. They don't have the emphasized shadows and highlights of our models. And that really does show up. Like when you look at the model, it does jar a little bit. So it is best to at least paint them a little. You don't necessarily have to cover them with paint, but I like to at least highlight them. Especially, I like to work with darker basing materials like this, and then highlight them with like a lighter buff color or some grays and buff, something like that. To bring this up. So here I'll be probably reaching for something like creamy ivory or a bone color or something like that. Maybe even a kind of an ochre yellow at first, and then up to an off-white to really give it that dried out look. And I'm going to let that set. Definitely have some glue spots, so I will need to grab my grays. Which was indigo plus gnawed bone plus white. So I'll need to mix that up for touch-ups. I won't need to touch up too much, so let's just mix a darker version of it. So I'm going to wipe off my static grass container before I glue it to my hand. So get our glue off of there. We used a lot of it. But yeah, so when you use a plastic container like this, there, I wiped it all off. It'll dry really fast now. And you could just work with that puddle of glue for a while. No problem. So it's a good way to work with glue in a more controlled manner when you're doing the, it's much more controlled. So then when I've got a bunch of glue on my pokey stick, but that's fine. I can just take my knife once it's dry and just do that scraping and get all of it off eventually. If it's a little gummy at the end, that means it's just not dried yet. But you should be able to get... Super glue will come off of steel like this, no problem. Might have to just be patient and get it all off, but you will clean off your pokey tool eventually. And then it will be all nice and sharpen you again. Yeah, you could use any sort of pin or needle, but I've got the pokey tools to hand, and they clean off really easy, so there's really no reason not to use them. All right, gonna get my stack grass. Quindy. I've had those days, but most of them are long gone now. Like, I'm sure that I'm capable of doing so even now, but let's just not. Oh, sorry. It's super glue. So it's the medium Zap-A-Gap. So you don't want the really runny stuff because it requires a perfect fit to really make a good bond. You could use gel actually for basing material, but the problem with the gel glue is that it's going to be a bubble, right? You're going to get a blob of it. And it's got structure, right? Whereas this is a real thin puddle. So although it has like surface tension, you saw that it was a pretty like rounded blob when I put it down, but it's still pretty fluid. So when I apply it, it's going to be very flat to the base. So it's not going to give me any extra volume to kind of like suspend my basing material in a glob of glue, which isn't going to look good at all. No, I don't use cardstock pendrake. I always use a plastic, like the basing material thing that I used. And the reason is that on cardboard, any sort of cardboard or cardstock, I find that it actually soaks in. Whereas here on the plastic, it's just going to sit there and then I can wipe it off and it's, just fine. So I have used cardboard to do it, but unless that cardstock is coated, I don't like that it soaks in. I need it to be... It can also, the soaking can kind of crystallize the base of it, so yeah. Yeah, you do the puddle glue business, but many people do not. So that is why I wanted to do it. Because we're teaching here. But yeah, I just always use a plastic thing. If I've got a basing container or something nearby, I'll use it. I've even used my palette, but I generally use a non-porous surface. I don't think that using a porous surface does you any favors. Bottle caps work great. No, you want a medium. This is whatever it's called. You see, what you want, Twistoma, is called the gap filling. So even if you don't use Zap-A-Gap, look for gap filling, but not gel. All right, I'm going to mix up some gray real quick. So we're going to put a couple drops of our black indigo down. And then grab our gnawed bone. You could also use yellowed bone. You could use any yellow type of beigey off-white is going to kind of counteract the blue and purple in this color and give you a gray. Yeah, I have to figure out what I want to paint. If I'm not painting Mr. Wizard, I need to look at my Reaper stuff and see what I might want to work on. Yeah, I've got no time at all because, like, I have 2 days. You guys get me for 2 days, and then on Thursday I'm flying out to North Dakota to do the puppy eval. More pictures. Let's see here. Why is my... it's really stupid when my phone and my Wi-Fi is like... Yeah, can we like actually connect please to the Wi-Fi phone? I don't know why it's so silly. There we go. Oh, wrong one actually. Okay, let's see if... Oh, they have an outside picture. Oh, that's just the cute. That's the cute. The Shiloh cute. Crying and whining to bug lips. Yes. I'm sorry I don't have a bug lips to do that. So let's see here. Oh, the puppies are getting visitors. The puppy enclosure is in full swing. Little silly puppers. All by your feet. Oh, they've got a pool. They've got a pool to play in. Kiki is very jealous. Oh, yep. Oh, there we go. There we go. Somebody figured it out. They are terribly cute. 7 weeks. You'd be happy to rent him out. And there's Yasha, the snowdrift puppy. She's getting more black on her now, but she's got slightly darker feet, so she'll probably darken up a little bit, but she's got that really light silvery color. Oh, this is a cute one. Ah, oh no, it's a video. I do not want a video. No, no, no. I just want the cute. I just want the cute. It's all I want. Ah, ah. How about no? How about no? I hate Facebook sometimes. Can I just say that? Like, how about no? Thank you. There we go. Much cuter. There they are. They're lining up to sit and get their treats. There we go. There's the cute for you all. You can actually see the cute. Yep. Very cute. Very cute. All right. You've all had your puppy dosage. I think that's... Oh, that's a cute, though. We could do that. Somebody's playing tug. Somebody's playing tug. Hey, New and Code. Oh, save plastic bubble for minis for stuff like that. Yep. Yeah, I hate Facebooks all the times, too. I think this litter had 7 or 8. She thought there were only 6 or 7, and then the puppy was born in the snowdrift when Sam went outside to use the potty after birthing the rest of the puppies. But yeah, so they're cute. They're playing the tugs. Good puppers. So yeah, we'll see how they are. Oh, there's a full cute. There's a full cute for you. So yes, Shiloh puppies are adorbs. Let's face it. I think that's all that really is the cutes. Yep. All right, so you've all had your puppy dose, and you had my Yosemite pictures, so now you've all had everything. But yeah, they're adorbs. All right, so that gave us a nice little period for things to dry. Let me grab my water. But yeah, Bridget is interested in my take on this litter, so I'm glad to be going out, but it means you guys miss me again. You'll get you'll only have 2 days of Anne this week, but next week I'm back. I'm back for good. All right, so mixing up this color, obviously it's still a bit purple, a little bit too purple. So that means 1 more drop of our yellowish beigey color to neutralize that purple. So to neutralize purple, you add yellow. If it goes green, you add red. If it goes blue, you add brown or orange. There we go. That's a pretty good gray, so I think that's good for touch-ups. And then a little bit of brown liner too to be our, if I need to put shadows. If the vegetation is pretty thick, I might put a slightly darker shadow around the edge of it. And I would do that by thinning down my brown liner to get a layering consistency. So let us do that. But yeah, all these pups I think are spoken for. I think Bridget was holding out trying to find a breed quality home for 1 female. Because she would keep one of these herself, because I think this is Zam's last litter. I think that Zammy is not having any more puppies after this. I think she's retiring her a little early. I think Zam is 4 or 5 right now, and I think just sometimes breeders will just retire their dogs early. I know that I'll do that probably with Kiki. I have no interest in having more than 2 litters with her, I think. And 2 litters might be enough to destroy me. Oh, I listed New and Code. Did I say thank you? 42 months. I'm sorry. I think I was in the middle of puppies when I said thank you. I like my girl dogs. I'm going to do actually 1 more drop. So I did 4 drops of brown liner. I'm actually going to thin it down to a 2-to-1. So that's going to make it quite thin. Like so, you can see it coming up there on the side. That's good. That's about what I want. It's actually maybe even a little heavier than what I want, but I can't do 4 dogs anymore. Dog father, bless you for giving all those puppers a great home. But man, 4 is too many for me. I found that out when I had 4. I mean, given 4 Shilohs is maybe a little bit different than 4 smaller dogs, but even so, I never felt like I had, because I'm so busy, I just never feel like I have enough time for them, and that makes me feel bad, so. All right, I'm going to, so many thanks to those of you who are able to adopt more dogs and handle more dogs. And give all of them good homes. Oh, you have 6. Yeah, that's way too much for me. Too much. I can't even. I don't know if I have baggage about taking care of too many living things at once. I might. All right, so the glue is dry, so I should be able to go over the top of it. Do make sure that you've given your glue enough time to dry, because if not, you are going to wreck a brush. In fact, I think just in case, I'm going to switch to one of my synthetic. So if I do wreck a brush, it won't be a good brush. Because sometimes in the cracks, it'll take a little longer to dry. So I'm just going over these little shiny glue spots. See those shiny glue spots right there? Yeah, I just find it exhausting, I'm afraid. If I have too many living things to take care of. That even extends to my yard. We have a very small yard in this house. And I used to have a very big yard, but honestly, yeah, there we go. So I think there is probably a little bit of wet glue still at the bottom here, but I'm going to put some of this brown liner, kind of bring it in there. And what I'm trying to do is just put a little bit of shading underneath at the same time as I'm covering over the glue spots. So some of this paint going on is to cover over glue spots, and at the same time to add a little shadow underneath some of this foliage and make it look more natural. But yeah, you must have more energy than me, Dogfather. I must say that I'm very happy now to just have one, because I feel like we've been able to really give Kiki a good start, and she's turning into a really exemplary dog. Like, really, we still are working on like the impulse control and the behavior, because she's very impulsive, so that is a little bit of a challenge. So I'm going to do just that little shadow. You can see me putting in a shadow around the edge of this plant life, and that'll make it look a little bit more like it belongs on the miniature, right? Because we've got all these shadows and lining on the model, so. Yeah, getting too old for this. Yep. Yeah, it's been nice to just have Keeks and to be able to spend a lot of time and energy on training her. I'm pretty confident that by the time we go to Shiloh Shepherd Nationals, we will be pretty good. She still just wants to play with every dog she sees, but I think that's just Kiki. But yeah, she did great. She did absolutely great on the vacation. Couldn't have asked for better, honestly. She was a very good girl. She took everything we threw at her. Even the stuff that was freaking me out. Because in Yosemite, one thing I will say is don't go to Yosemite when we did. Go a little bit earlier. Late spring and summer are peak season, and you just cannot find parking. Like, you're just like, we had to park somewhere pretty remote and then walk along the highway to get to where we were going in the heat and the bad. And there's no shoulder on the road. The cars were passing so close, like they do not respect hikers. And that did like shake us a bit. Kiki still was good though. She just moved off to the side when I asked her to, but it was still not fun. So if you do go, especially if you have a doglet, go sometime less busy. The first time I went to Yosemite was actually in the winter, and I actually really enjoyed it. There's no crowd at that point at all. You can park anywhere. And most places are still open because there's a lot of snow sports around Yosemite, so even though it's not like peak tourism season, it's not like everything is closed or anything. Yeah, 5 cats, yep. Yep. Yeah, you can't save them all, right? It's like you want to. Like when I see shelter adoptions, I do sometimes feel sad for the doglets, but most of the time around here it seems like they're just getting snapped up. Like I always see the last shelter adoption event that I saw at our local pet store, there were so many signs on the cages already that said, you know, spoken for, going home today, and stuff like that, so that makes me feel good. I don't have to save them, somebody else will. There we go. So just a little bit of shadow. You can see that I kind of lined around the bottom of this leaf to make it makes it stand out just as if it was a normal miniature. So now I'm going to double check for some glue spots here. I've got to do a little bit of gray still. Try to get all the shiny bits off as much as I can. And if you don't catch them all perfectly, well, you know, you can't get everything, but so whenever I see a puddle, I'm going to go in there with my glue. And if it's behind or under the foliage, I'll grab my brown liner and fill it in with that instead. So if I have to paint directly on top of one of my little plants here, I'll do it in brown liner because I'm going to highlight these anyway. So making them a little darker is not a bad thing. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Kiki might be our last dog. Like, I might keep a puppy if she has litters. But I'm very split on it right now because it's kind of nice just to have Keeks, especially now that she's getting really well behaved. Now that she's finally settling in and she's got her routine with us. And I'm just poking in with some of that dark paint again. If I can't get everything, I can't get everything. But at least I've gotten most of it. Most of the shine is gone. A little tiny piece of shiny glue is not going to be a big deal. I'm just going down underneath here and grabbing some of that shiny bit. I think we're pretty good. And if you're worried about the paint blending in, just stipple a little bit and it'll be just fine. Since we use stippling for most of building up our highlights and shadows here, when you're painting over the shiny glue spots, just stipple a little bit to blend things in. I mean, I'll paint a little bit on Wizard today if we have the time. I don't know though. This finishing her out might take a lot of the rest of the time. I don't have another model picked out right away right now, Pendrake. Actually, I had just started a bunch of them, so I don't actually have anything lined up. I'll have to look at my models, my box of models. So I don't have an extra in rotation right now. Okay, we can continue to use a Taklon to highlight these guys. They're looking pretty good, so let me see what I can do. But yeah, I'll just spend some time looking at, I mean, we're back to Mouseling tomorrow. I think we've got his blue to do and stuff. We did a lot of his metals. We can see the brass highlights really are turning out nicely on all of his metals. So I'm pretty happy right now with all of his metals, and I feel like I want to move on to doing like maybe the weathering on his hat or the blue coat, something like that. So we'll finish on Mousling tomorrow, and then we'll have to wait to finish Burgermeister and do more on Jolie when I come back. So remember what we were doing is building up all of his basing, which is looking really nice. Once I paint it all, we'll have a really nice base, I think. Here, we'll have to do more. I'll have to grab some leaves and stuff from the other room for him. Oh, you were saying go straight to Mousling. I see. I thought you said next in queue would be like the models I have prepped coming up next when we finish stuff. So my problem, my miss ID there. All right, I'm gonna use a more beige color first for the highlight on here. And I may actually go down and just use something like leather brown with a little bit of white added. I don't think if you want stuff to gray out, use something like desert stone or desert sand. But I think I want leather brown with just a little bit of gnawed bone in it. I could also use something more golden, like a blonde hair color. So let's get some of that leather brown here. I'll just put a couple of drops, and then I'm going to lighten it with gnawed bone. Since we're doing basing, we really don't need a lot of paint. We're not going to get, it won't be around for long. And Roger, thank you for the resub. 33 months. Awesome. 32-month streak. You're almost at your triple subversary. So I'm going to do some gnawed bone in there. And I'll mix it up. I don't want, because I'm painting basing material, I actually want my paint to stay pretty sticky. So I'm going to just do a tiny bit of water on my brush to mix it in. I want my paint to be pretty thick because I want it to kind of stick to the fibers first pass, and I don't want to have to spend a lot of time building it up, which I would have to if it was thinner. I think I've got some cool models sitting in queue waiting. Some stuff from ReaperCon and some other stuff. So I'm going to use a synthetic brush. I use synthetics for basing a lot. Doesn't really matter. You can use a stable if you want. Keep a little bit of extra paint on. One trick you can do when you're working with natural materials like this, if you use a spray sealer, spray sealers can dry out and make your natural plant life a little bit brittle, a little bit more hard. Which the brittleness isn't good, but it can make it stiffen up, right? When that solvent sealer soaks in, and it makes it easier to dry brush it. So it's up to you. It's a little harder to get the paint to stick to the natural fibers when they don't have that coating. You can do it. I'm going to do it, but it is a nice trick if you do want your stuff to, and it does help seal it down. Like if you feel like some of your plant life is not stuck on very well, you could use a spray sealer. Just be careful if you aren't sure how matte it is or how it might affect your model. I would recommend wrapping the model in some cling wrap first and just spraying your base with the sealer. That way, if the finish isn't what you would want, you haven't damaged your paint job. So I'm just going to dab really lightly. I just want to paint and highlight a little bit of these, bring out some of the little details. Just like you can see that coming up in there. And it goes from being, because the natural fibers themselves are really dull, right? But now that we've shaded under them and now that we're painting highlights onto them, they're starting to look, they look more like they belong with a miniature, right? Brush on sealer will not create the same effect. Brush on sealer is really just paint. It's just paint without pigment. Usually it's a slightly higher like acrylic mix, not always. Sometimes it is quite soft still. So no, brush on sealer will not, it's the solvent Kodiak and the specific aerosol resins, but I bet more the solvent that will dry out the vegetation and make it more brittle. Now, if you really inundated it, like if you put a big solid layer like goop to brush on sealer all over it, it would just like, it would give it kind of a plasticky coating, just like paint will. I'm gonna brush my color over everything, including these little fronds here, which are pretty light colored anyway. I used to do it a lot. I especially like doing a spray sealer. I use Tester's Dulco, which unfortunately no longer exists, but there are other sprays out there now. I would use it over static grass because it kills the shine on static grass. And then the static grass kind of feels like more crispy and stiff, and you can dry brush it easier. But again, I don't like to seal my models because I don't like the way that sealer will sometimes like dull down your highlights and you have to re-highlight. I don't like that at all, so I would tend to wrap my model in something to shield it from the spray. Yeah, there is some of this is pretty loose, but the paint is going to help it stick to everything, right? So, and yeah, some of this is just, it's like hanging on there. It's not going to be necessarily pulled off. Some of it's a lot more stuck down than others. I'll dry brush this bit because it's got a lot of little fronds and stuff. But yeah, if there's a lot of dry brushable texture on one of these, then I will dry brush it. Otherwise, I'll just kind of stipple it. But you can see now, doesn't it look like it belongs here? Because now it's painted. And you can see details in it, right? So this is why I paint my basing, to make it look like it belongs with the model and that it is in scale. So otherwise it just plain bugs me. David doesn't necessarily agree with me on this one, but I'm sticking to my guns. At least, especially on 28s. Because everything else is so accentuated on a 28. Artificially exaggerated. So I feel like the basing does too need to be. Okay, now we're on the last bit here. And I am definitely going to paint that leaf, even though this color that I'm putting over it is pretty much the same color. But now I'll be able to highlight it as well. Because this is not the last highlight. We'll take some creamy ivory and pop it over as a final highlight on this too. So now it looks much more like it belongs on a base. And the super glue will make this stuff a little bit more brittle as it soaks in. Yeah, I'm still sad about Dulco too. I just stopped using sprays, Richard. I didn't really need it anyway. When I was using Vallejo, I had to use it because the rub-off was terrible. But once Master Series was firmly around, Master Series has a high adhesion, and I find that it's a lot harder to rub off MSP because it's got a harder finish. That was kind of the point, because I used to get really frustrated with the amount of rub off with some other paint lines. All right, so let's go up to Creamy Ivory and do just a final little round to just pick out some high points on this leaf litter. Just like any other miniature, putting an extra layer of highlighting on does help to further, give you the illusion that the light is hitting things and it's an all-in scale. So, but yeah, I'm very happy with how this is turning out. I'm glad I reached for the little moss bits instead of the static grass, because it's about what I wanted. Static grass tends to be the quick and easy way to finish things, but you can do it more artfully. It's just you have to use a lot of other basing materials around it and really make it look like it blends in. Ooh, And over there. Okay. So once again, I've got 4 small drops of creamy ivory. I'm just gonna get my brush a little wet and then tap most of the water off and just give it a little bit of fluid in here. Just to make it a little more fluid so it stays wet just long enough for me to work with it. I want it to be pretty sticky, again, because I want it to stick to these tiny little plant things. And sticky means thicker. It does mean I'll have less time to work. A wet palette can work against you on this because if it is wicking a lot of water up into your paint will get thinner and it won't stay as sticky. So keep that in mind if you're trying to paint little tiny plant life. And here I'm just gonna like concentrate on little pops of light just here and there. I don't want to cover over all the stuff that I did before. I'm just going to try to pick out some of the higher points and get a little bit more variance in my highlights, so it's not just all one highlight. And it's going to be a lot faster. And then a little bit more, boom, 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 a little bit on the edge here, a bit on the lower edge here, and there. Alrighty. That just makes it come out just a little bit more. There we are. I think that's pretty good. Got a little bit of a loose bit there. I think I'm going to stick it down with paint. So paint and glue have a lot in common, paint and white glue. And sometimes if you do see a loose bit, like I did right here, you can just grab a bit of your paint and kind of press it down, get it kind of saturated, and use that in place of glue. May have to re-highlight after that, but it'll work in a pinch. But yeah, so if you notice any loose stuff, grab some of your paint and see if you can put enough paint on it to kind of stick it in. The testers, I think, got bought out, didn't it, guys? Somebody bought out testers because they weren't doing very well at Pendrake, and they decided they put out a new version of that product, and it's not nearly as good. Alrighty. But yeah, I just find that I don't use sealers except for brush on much these days. So hopefully you guys can see how that makes the little details come out and also makes the basing material really look like it belongs on the base, that it's part of the model. It looks integral to the base. It doesn't look like I just stuck on a bunch of tufts anymore. You know, kind of like just bringing it up as a nice accent. And using the beiges and creams to bring it up is the same kind of beige that's on the book and things like that. So yeah. Oh, Rust-Oleum bought them, right. Do you see a little bit of stuff I need to correct here? All right. Well, we're doing pretty well. You just take a look all around her to see that she's good. Anti-shine. Yeah. Anything that says anti-shine, that includes our own anti-shine additive, but it means there's a lot of matting agent in there, and matting agent is almost always hard to keep in suspension. It tends to settle out. So whenever you've got that doesn't surprise me at all, Agent Marvel. Yeah, dull coat was a little easier. Like, you still had to shake it really well if you wanted a good result, though. Because when you load that much matting agent into something, it is heavier than what it's suspended in. And it will tend to settle out. It will tend to cake together. And so the danger then is if you don't shake it like a Jeebus, not only, if you don't shake it up well, you're not going to get the dull finish you're looking for. But doubly bad, as you use the can, the matting agent becomes more concentrated and eventually it'll frost on you. Realized I had a little bit of a screw up here on her ribbon, so I grabbed some Orchid Purple to fix it. There we go. Better. But yeah, that's the danger of, like, if you don't... It's same thing with Brush On Sealer, by the way, the Reaper Brush On Sealer. The matting agent tends to settle out, and you really, really want to shake that stuff when you use it, because otherwise... Eventually, you're going to try to put a coat on, and there's going to be too high a proportion of matting agent, and it will frost. No, Bryce, I am off to do a puppy evaluation, so I will not be at Kubla. I'm off to North Dakota to do the evaluation, or help with the evaluation on Kiki's half-siblings. And Bridget's going through some stuff, so I'm going to try to support her while I'm there. Make sure she doesn't have as much to worry about. Yep, puppies. I decided puppies over teaching this year. I don't enjoy teaching in person much anymore, Bryce. It's like, I've realized that it is stressful to me, especially when I'm, I really love teaching online. So, like, I notice now that when I teach in person, I feel a lot more stressed out. So, I don't know why that is. I mean, I am an introvert, so who knows? But I'm an introvert who does a pretty good act of it being an extrovert, so. So I'm not planning to teach at ReaperCon this year either. I'll go, and I'm glad to give, like, demos. I'm glad to answer questions. I'm glad to give critiques. I'll judge for sure if Michael wants me. I'll do the award ceremony if they want me to, or maybe Derek and I can tag team it. Yeah. But we'll see. Maybe you do. Maybe that's it, Quindy. That's it. I need you to come into my in-person classes. And you can have all the emotes like they do at esports events. You can have the emote faces on popsicle sticks, and you just hold up. You go behind me and just hold up the stick at somebody. Yeah, you do not want to do, obviously, if you put a dead matte finish over your metallics, what you'll notice is they'll turn kind of to demi-metallics. Because you're putting that fogged surface over it. You'll still see a tiny bit of shine, and it might even photograph better, but you won't have that real metallic look, Agent Marble, if you try that. But yeah, I totally think Quindy's got it. I need her to come to all my... I'll do a workshop. I'll come out to your area to do a workshop, Quindy, and you can just sit behind me and do that. Yes, David is teaching. He's teaching 2 classes. I forget which ones he's teaching. I think he's teaching the advanced highlighting class that he made up last year. He really liked that. Because it's more about, like, direction of light and stuff, and that's, of course, his forte. I've always wanted to go to New Orleans, actually. Quindy, that's not a bad idea. I don't know how many painters you have down there. Okay, guys, it's going to be a New Orleans holiday. We'll all go down. I'll teach. I'll do a workshop. We need 12 people. Yeah, I don't know what David's other class that he's teaching is. I'd almost like to see David make a hands-on class about blocking in a miniature, like, and kind of like he tried to teach that the bust class he did for ReaperCon Online, but like how to just block in and not try to blend, just block in without fear to get a good light sourcing effect to start out with on your figure. In the suburbs, you don't like going in the city. Well, it'll be cheaper to find space for it in the suburbs too, Quindy. I have always wanted to go to New Orleans. So, okay, when's obviously in summer it's probably ridiculously hot, and when's the best like off-season time to go to New Orleans? Is like winter okay? When's the best weather, Quindy? When's the best weather in New Orleans? Well, kind of, Twistedoma. I feel like you guys are friends. And maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just comfortable with you guys. Like, you know, I know a lot of you from ReaperCon anyway. Inside. Yeah, because, like, it can be... And that's what Mark Masklins does, you know. He just teaches you to block in your light and shadow. Yep. Get off my lawn. You went in December and thought it was great, Crowley? That's what I was kind of thinking, is winter might be the right season. I can't do it this year because we got too much crap going on, but we can put that on the to-do list. Yeah, early winter. Quindy can moderate all the questions, all the chat. Stay away from Mardi Gras. Yeah, obviously. Winter, early spring, like February. Are you feeling targeted, Dogfather? Alrighty. Well, it is 11. It's a little late to start something else, but we can chat. Yeah. Yeah, right. Okay, so maybe January. January is usually no travel for me. Although it is like right after the holidays and the time when I'm like about travel. February is when I tend to go visit my parents in Arizona because the weather's gorgeous. Must speak through the translator, Quindy. You must hold up your remote when you want to speak. Everybody gets popsicle sticks with heads on them. Oh, Lordy. Just type your question. We'll just like stream and except we'll stream in person. It's like okay, did you guys ever have this like when you were LANing when you're at a LAN and you're all like playing WoW or whatever shooter game and you're still talking to each other, like, you know, you're talking to each other across the room, but you're also just typing to each other in the chat because you're used to doing that. Even though the person is 2 computers down from you, you're typing to them in the chat. Like, it's like that. We'll just all type to each other in chat even though we're in the same room. I'll have to have voice to text, which should be pretty hilarious. It does sound like the most introverted thing ever, right? It's totally memeable. We can meme this. This would be the memeiest thing ever. Sounds like a great publicity stunt for my Patreon. Oh my gosh. We could do a comedy segment of it just for the first part and film it. Use it for Patreon trailer. You did headset chats at LANs, yeah. Like, you're talking to the headset, or even though they're right there, they're like, 15 feet away from you, you're still talking to them in the headset, or you're typing in chat. You text each other in the same car. Oh my god. Yep, that's the nowadays version, right? Oh, that's hilarious. Lordy sakes alive. Oh, thanks for my socials. Oh, hey guys, I just, book news. I'm still working on getting West of the Moon done, and I'm gonna make a huge push. I have an editor scheduled now, so I have to get this edit done in time to send it to him. But I just did my first my first Amazon ad, and I actually got a couple sales off of it, even though it was a tiny little ad and I didn't use nearly as many keywords. So it cost me, I think it cost me $3.56 to run the week ads, and I think I made like $21. So yeah, so it was my little I've never run an Amazon ad or any kind of ad ever before online, so I was just trying it. So it was kind of cool. Like, that means that if I scaled it up, you know, and ran it for serious, like, maybe I could. You have to watch your spend, right? You don't want to ever spend more than you're making, so that kind of thing. Also, I'm getting my royalty statements at the end of this month. I think I get my royalty statements for Amazon. And I apparently had people buy my books in the US, in the UK, in Canada, and in Australia. So maybe that's all you guys. but that was pretty cool. But yeah, I was pretty happy with that. Like, I didn't expect anything from that ad campaign. I was targeting really old books and broad categories, and I didn't really expect it to go through, to do anything, Bryce. It was really just me learning how to do an ad campaign, right? So that I could come back and do a better one when West of the Moon comes out. But yeah, it was actually pretty easy to set up through Amazon, and it made me more money than it spent, and that's what you want, right? So yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. And it would have potentially made me more money if I'd had more books out, right? Because then if they read the first book and liked it, they'd probably buy the second book, which is the whole point. It's called read through. So yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that. I feel like I can do this. I can do this promotion thing. Yeah. So yeah, excited now for book 2's launch, because I can line up a bunch of promotions on book 1 and have it all wrapped in, which could be cool. Yeah. Whenever you make more money than you spend, it's good. So yeah, and I got hopefully a few new peeps, and maybe they'll end up on my mailing list, or whatever. Maybe they'll leave a review. So it's fun and experimental. I thought I would share, because it was like ads. Because it feels like when you're self-publishing, every new thing you have to learn just feels like, oh my god, I have to learn something else, because you've already learned so much. But yeah, it's actually, dare I say, fun. I'm not one of those people who is going to be like, oh, advertising, it's too much trouble. No, I'm not. I'm going to be that one person who's like, data. I want more data. I could get addicted to running advertising. That's how bad I am. That's how much of a data nerd I am, you guys. Just telling you. It's scary. It's very scary, but I think I could get pretty addicted to it. That's why David said in another lifetime, I would have been a data analysis nerd, and I would have been really good at it. But somehow I ended up in this job instead. Oh well, it is what it is. Super. So cool. All right, well, I think we'll call it, and I'll try to be on a little earlier tomorrow, so we can get a nice long day for our last day, and we'll be working on Mousy. I think I'm going to try to repaint his headband red. And see if I can accentuate. Remember last time we talked about, I could do the headband red as long as I maybe made his ears and his nose and everything and his tail a little pinker. I think that might work. So I'm going to maybe try that. And see if we can make that red work out. Yeah, I don't know. We're both data nerds, right? This mouseling? I don't remember. He's he is like a mouseling. He's kind of like a witch hunter or an undead hunter or something. But I don't remember what exactly the mouseling's name was, because I got him as part of a Kickstarter bundle, Pendrake, so he didn't come with a card or in a blister. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. Yes. So I'll be back tomorrow, then I'm gone Thursday, Friday, but then I'll be back Monday, and we'll be good for a long time. The next thing I might have is we might go down to Monterey. I might miss a Friday in June. And then we're up to David's parents in July. But most of June, I'll be solid. I'll be on every day. So, yay! Hey, everybody. Well, thanks very much. Quindy, thank you for herding the cats. Oh, Dusk Warden Mouseling? Thanks. Thanks, Quindy. Yeah, I wasn't sure. So there you're at Pendrake. Dusk Warden Mouseling. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. It's going to be weird, just getting back into my routine for 2 days and then poof. I'm going to have to start packing again tomorrow. I'm like, I'm doing laundry super fast. So yes. All right. Much love to y'all. Yay. Yep. And have a good one. All right. See you tomorrow, everybody.